Welcome to the NASCAR and NBC podcast. I'm your host, Nate Ryan. Today here at our NBC Sports Charlotte studios, we're joined by one of the newsmakers from this past weekend, Ross Chastain. Not exactly in the news the way he would want to be, but unfortunately that's frequently the story with Ross. He's making headlines both good and bad in NASCAR, but it's great to have him here. We're talking here on the Tuesday after the Iowa Speedway race, which Ross technically won for about an hour, and then afterward he hadn't won it. So we're also about, probably 16 hours away or so from your appeal hearing. So I don't want to get into everything that happened, Ross, at Iowa in terms of the disqualification or anything like that, but just tell us about the appeal. Like, are you going to attend the appeal hearing? How is that going to work?
Right. When does this podcast go out?
It's going to go out. This part of it will go out tonight.
Okay. Yeah. So because that'll play in.
Is,
so,
yeah. When people hear this podcast, I'm sure most of them are going to already know the results. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. I mean, it was a decision on the team side to pursue the appeal. I don't have any experience with it, so I support them 110%. Really 100% because you can't give more than 100%. So. The good thing for me and the group of guys on the truck and road crew, pit crew, and engineers and everybody that supports the two Nice trucks, 3 at times, we know that we went and we spanked them, like we stomped them in the dirt, and I don't apologize for that. Brett was closer at the end than I thought he would be, but static tech height for ride heights post-race is not what won us that race, and I can sleep good knowing that we're bringing the same truck back to Gateway, and we're going to have a shot to, even though I've only started and parked the truck at Gateway last year, is my only experience there, but we're going to have a chance to win.
Yeah. So will you attend?
I will.
You will, okay.
Yeah, I will. Talked to Cody Efall, our general manager, and Al flew in. He wasn't at Iowa.
Your owner, team owner.
Yeah, team owner, Al Nice. So he flew in yesterday, just come to shop, and it's been some very, very upset people involved, and Al included, and obviously all of us, for the way a lot of things were handled and the way that some people acted that we, thought were a little better than that. So definitely not going to get into naming names, but just everybody, there was some things handled that you just not how you handle things. So a lot of us were upset. I was more upset about the people side, not even the call or the DQ. However it works out, I'll be fine with. I know that we won straight up, and because dynamic ride height is on the ground, you're on the racetrack scraping the ground all the way around, and everybody is, and then you have to get it back up. And ours didn't come up. That's why it didn't come up. I don't know, and they're still trying to figure that out. But I'm good with the fact that we have race winning trucks and we can go out and win a bunch of races. We're going to go for our 3rd win of the year at Gateway. Mm-hmm. We gave them an 8-race head start. What's one more race? How big of a head start do these guys need in the points? So no issues on my end. 100% confidence. Don't want to sound cocky, but I am confident because I know what it's like to not have speed and you're struggling and you don't have the resources, and we have the resources. Now, we don't have all the funding, but it was a very big swing this week, not winning that money once we thought we did, even though we didn't go there. We went there preparing to win it, but you don't put that into the budget. Yeah. But it definitely would have filled some holes that we have, so we just got to find another way to do that, and we're busy plugging away, trying to work with our existing partners and trying to bring on new ones, just like everybody in the sport is.
Right. Yep. So that was a $50,000 bonus that unfortunately got also snatched away by this NASCAR call.
It is. We're a little salty, like, I'll be honest, right? So we're a little wide-eyed right now because we were the first ones to have a win taken away, and just the trickle down and the repercussions of that will be falling out. There will be fallout from this for us for a long time, and it shook Al Nice and all of us to our cores on what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Al's prepared for years to win races with his race team. This is year 3 or 4, and the amount of investment and infrastructure he's put up to put into this race team and to get your second win and they take it away I think it really made him think about why is he doing this and is this worth doing? it did. And he's a guy that wears his emotion on his sleeve just like I do, and he's honest. And he came in the shop yesterday and had some for me, very bone-jarring words that was like, holy cow, this could have a really bad effect on all of our futures, his included in NASCAR and mine with his truck team. And I feel like he's been the springboard for me to compete for wins this year so far, on top of having chances in the 10 car with Colleague and Nutrient Ag Solutions. So it's scary stuff right now, and it's that's why we just need it. We will go win this weekend, and we will keep winning.
So your team owner Al Neese came into NASCAR in 2016, as you said, very recently committed to running this series full time, and it sounds as if he's had maybe second thoughts about. I mean, he's committed to this year, but maybe beyond that, it's just kind of jarred him a little bit and said, "Is it worth it?"
I mean, how in the world, when you feel like you're everybody's against you, and you already got one hand tied behind your back when you walk in the door, and they got you strapped down. So it's I mean, I know I'm very biased right now. Mm-hmm. I just the punishment of taking that win away for tech ride height rules, when that rule will go away. It's already gone from Cup. It's going to keep trickling down and go away. They won't admit that until it happens. Mm-hmm. And right, you can't. I mean, until they put it in place for whatever the future date is, but but that's rules. Those same rules are at your local short track, and I had to, growing up at Punta Gorda Speedway, you had to meet your minimum ride height rules. It was 4 inches for the body and 6 inches for the frame in our fast trucks, and if that old metal square tubing didn't fit underneath the body at 4 inches, if it rubbed anywhere, you got thrown out. So. Granted, we were running big 1,000-pound springs and nothing else back then. So now with pigtail springs and everything you do to make these trucks lower to the ground and scrub the racetrack because lower is better, and it's just it's an inexact science sometimes. And but the ride height rule will go away, but that wasn't the case this weekend at Iowa, and we just have to live with it. Yeah,
for now it is the rule. Brad Keselowski has suggested NASCAR might want to consider taking its rule book and taking out every other page, just indiscriminately just rip them out one by one.
I think they should take the rule book, tear half the pages out of it, and go race. You got too many damn rules, too many lucky dogs, waiver rounds. There's so much stuff going on. The drivers don't know what's going on, and NASCAR don't know what's going on. There's too many rules.
Is that something you'd be in favor of? It sounds like there's too many rules right now across the board.
There's a rule because someone pushed the gray area, and then they had to write it down. They had to put it in writing, and in today's world, you have to put everything in writing. So it's not that simple. It sounds great. I know it's not that simple. But man, if they would just look at it as they're the boss, like quit listening to everybody. Yeah. Like, I don't care what anybody says on a podcast. Like, no offense to any of us, but my vote shouldn't count, and neither should the media, neither should the team owners. Like, it should be like it's their sandbox, and they jump back and forth. Like, no, this is ours. Oh, but we'll listen to you. And then, oh, well, no, we're going to go this way. It's like, no, just
more of an iron-fisted
somebody
approach.
Step up and just run this thing,
right,
and be transparent but understand what you're talking about and just make the call. And I think that if that would have been the case with, you look at somebody like Wayne Otten, he's been my series director since I came in the truck series, and we both kind of moved to the XFINITY Series about the same time. And he's somebody, and him and Buster, and like they're real people, and they understand what's cheating and what's not. Mm-hmm. And I know that they put out this new rule, and it just covers all failures after the race. So it didn't matter if we had a motor with 100 extra horsepower, if we put a big spacer on it, where we could get more power, or we were a little bit low on our front splitter. It's the same penalty. How does that?
Right.
How do you have so many rules, and then you have one that just covers it all, and they just say, "Oh, our hands are tied. That's the rule."
Right.
Well, first of all, they wouldn't even tell me what was going on. NASCAR wouldn't talk to me after the race. So,
that's sort of what you're disgruntled about. It's just you don't feel like it was handled well.
Well, no,
the way they interacted with you.
On the competition side and the NASCAR side, there's lots of things to be upset about. Like I said already, I'm very biased right now, and I'm still upset. And I will be for a long time. But it just fuels me to go and stomp them in the dirt again, man. Even though there ain't no dirt at Gateway on the racing within the walls, but we're gonna go and like I said, all I've done is start and park there,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go. We'll just go beat them again.
Well, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, Ross, I mean, you've had a lot of experience with this, overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back and look at the last year. I mean, you get the Xfinity opportunity last year with Chip Ganassi Racing. Then you're racing for a win before the crash with Kevin Harvick at Darlington Raceway, and your debut in that car. Then, he comes out and obviously has some unkind things to say towards you.
Got a really inexperienced guy in a really fast car that made a really bad move and then wrecked me. Down the back straightaway, hooked me to the right. So just probably the reason that he'll never get to drive many of them again.
And then 2 weeks later, though, you win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the first time in the Xfinity Series. You get announced as the full-time Xfinity driver at Ganassi Racing several weeks later. And then a month after that, the ride goes away because the sponsorship disappears. So now you win a race, and not even an hour later, it's gone. I mean, do you look at this, like, have you found yourself wondering, why do these things always happen to me, this good, bad dynamic, or is it just another opportunity of like, hey, this is the way I roll?
Yeah, it's definitely not the way I would have written it. I don't think that they would ever even make a movie about this. It'd have to, or write a book. It'd have to be a fictional book because no one would believe it. But
stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's just, I feel like I truly do believe, and through my faith, and I don't like to talk about it that much, but it's I believe there's a plan. There's a plan for everybody. There's a plan for me, and I'm good with his plan for me. So this is just part of it. And for some reason, I get to go through this, and he's forcing, not the way I choose to do it. I don't want them to take the win away.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking back to the range of emotions after the race, of the highest of highs again, and then to the moments leading up to the phone call when I was changing. I was still in my race suit after the race and was changing, and I get a call that they're over in tech and it's not looking good, and I walk over there and nobody will talk to you. So just it's all, there's a reason this is all happening, and I'm good with it because I believe it's going to work out, and I see the light for my career in NASCAR, and I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't. But I have enough people on my side that I feel like it's going to work out. So definitely not the way I would have drawn it up. I mean, I'm still great with everybody at CGR and working with those guys to just try to be the best race car driver I can be, and let them teach me, all their different philosophies of things. And same goes with Colleague and Premium and Nice Motorsports, and then a few races that JD left. So, it's just it's part of it. I mean, I don't know how you pick what's right and wrong. It's just you get up and fight every day, and that's all I do.
Well, Jeff Burton sat right here on Monday's NASCAR America and said that he believes you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to win again, and make the top 20 in points. And he said it's because he's seen it. He's seen you go through these challenges, this adversity, and you always come out stronger. You're tough. You have that ability. When you go through something like what happened at Iowa, Ross, do you think back on all the ups and downs of the last year and lean on that to help you get through the current adversity? Or
it's just kind of how it's been. So what's any different? Like, this is okay. Why I probably should have expected something like this to happen, but it's just part of it. And I know we won that race, and that's why I say we're going for a third win of the season, and that's a dream come true to be saying that. Like, 2 years ago, I would have given my left arm to come and talk to you on a podcast and have won an Xfinity race. And then, last time we talked, we were talking about what it was going to be like going into the 2019 season with the Xfinity car. And then now we're like, you still invited me back after all that was gone. So it's like, well,
you were a good guest, man. You're well received.
We landed on our feet and we keep fighting. And so, like, we'll just keep fighting. Like, if they're going to hit us over the head, then we'll punch right back. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So as you mentioned, Ross, you're going for your third win. You had a win last month at Kansas Speedway. The praise poured in on Twitter afterward. I saw Eric Jones, Daniel Hemrick, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, some really big names from the Cup Series congratulating you, and obviously very happy. I'm sure that's partly because of your story. You have a great story. I know you don't want to be called the underdog, and I totally appreciate that. I think it'd be nice if we could refer to you as Ross Chastain, full-time, high-profile, established ride Cup driver. But your story is great, but I think also it speaks to your character that you had all those drivers come in and say these positive things for you about you after the Kansas win. But it took me back to when we were talking here a few months ago at Ganassi on the podcast, we were talking about how you had some run-ins with guys. You had Brendan Gaughan, Joey Gase, Jeremy Clements, Kevin Harvick, Blake Cook. I mean, there have been some instances where you have not made friends on the racetrack and have not apologized for it because, as you said, I bring my friends. Have you gotten, when you get those responses from Eric Jones or Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Daniel Hemrick, have you gotten to know those guys well from racing against them, or did it come as a bit of a surprise to have that kind of support?
No, I have. I mean, I've got to know Eric pretty well. There was a time where, and it's all circumstantial, but I was always fighting to stay on the lead lap, and he was in the Gibbs Xfinity car putting us all lap down on lap 20, and I was kind of the first guy, I feel like, in the field each week. Everybody behind me would just kind of let him go, and I wouldn't. So I understand why he was upset, because it was letting second place catch up, and I was doing things that would even probably slow me down, but as long as I keep him behind me, and a couple of times we caught the caution and it paid off and we kept our lap. So I told Eric once we got to know each other, I was like, I'm not apologizing for racing you hard. We raced each other in trucks in 2013, and he beat me at Phoenix for his first win and denied me my first win when we led, seemed like most of the race. And they got really good right at the end of the race and came and beat us, and he went on and took off with his career, and mine kind of spiraled downhill for a little while. So we're back now, and a lot of those guys, it all started with kind of racing hard, and then usually once after you get done racing them hard, and then if your careers kind of go into separate series, that's when then we can kind of be friends. But usually the ones I'm racing with, we're not friendly, and I don't want anybody to not like me, right? It's not like I come out and I'm just like, I'm a jerk, and I don't care what you think. It's like, no, I want people to like me. I want people to, want to be around me and stuff. But I mean, part of the reason that it stings so bad this weekend is that Brett won, and I don't apologize for this at all. But we've been racing against each other all year, and I've came out on the good end of a lot of our battles, but I've been really aggressive with him, and he's been mad, and he's said things to the media, but when he sees me in person, he won't say anything. And I'm like we ride bikes together with Josh Wise, and it's like, man, like, you're all buddy with me, and then you get out after Iowa, and he's telling how he could have wrecked me if he wanted to, and like, he couldn't have. You got to me one time. Why are you saying that stuff? So that's what made it even worse, is that that they won. Jerry Baxter's a great guy, like a lot of guys on their team, but just some of the way some stuff has been handled is that, like, we all work together with GMS. That's where we buy our chassis, and that's where Nice has always gotten their start from, and we still do. We have orders in now for stuff for bodies and chassis and stuff, and so I'm sure it's hard for all of us to balance being competitors. I think we saw this. I wasn't really around, but Stuart Haas, and when they were aligned with Hendrick, as they got better, then all of a sudden they went to Ford. So I don't know what the real reason was, but I mean, if you find something that's going to make your car a tenth faster, how are you going to tell your competitor that you're already a tenth behind and you're going to get him faster with you? So we all feel like we're not getting the good end, so it's just this constant struggle with all of us. And maybe I shouldn't be talking about it, but I'm pretty open, and I think one day Brett and I will probably work through all that, and I want to be, I don't want people to be mad at me. And I get it. Like Texas, I cleared myself up on the backstretch and got into Brett's left front, and affected his race. So I hate that. I don't like that. But I do drive aggressive, and I kind of don't come out. I try to not come out on the bad end of things when that stuff happens. So it's I bring my friends with me, and one day I'm sure Brett and I'll sit around and have a beer together maybe or something. Just somewhere closed environment, and we can just be friendly to each other. But it's definitely not happened today. Yeah.
So even though you have drivers who are congratulating you on Twitter, what you said in December when you got announced as the Nice Motorsports driver, you said, I don't get along with many drivers. Like, that still holds true, even though Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Eric Jones are saying, hey, good job, man.
But you got to think about it, I'm not racing against
You're
those
not racing
guys.
them yet.
Right. I mean, I'm in the cup race, but I'm definitely not racing them, and I'm not holding them up when they lap me. So, it's it's all circumstantial, I feel like.
Yeah. So maybe when you start racing those guys full time, it changes.
I still do owe Chase one. He spun me out at Martinsville in a truck race a couple years ago, and we were in a position to run pretty good there, and he just dumped us. So it's okay though.
So take us through the decision to run full time in the Truck Series, Ross, for Nice Motorsports. I know that you joined this team before the 2019 season, initially a part-time deal, and then obviously getting to know the team owner, Al Nice, and the guys over there. There must have been something that made you think, oh, obviously the Kansas win too, but made you think that this is a championship team I can win with.
Yeah. Went into the season and with everything that happened at CGR, it kept fluctuating on how many races I was going to be able to run, and originally it was going to be 5 races at Nice, and then once everything happened, it opened up to run as many as we could, and Al kept me in the truck at Vegas and a couple places where we weren't originally scheduled to, and it just happened to work out that way, kind of just how everything worked out at the time. So glad it did, because to be points eligible, you had to have run every race. Even though they don't give you anything, like that's a stipulation. All their safeguards, I think, into preventing something like this happening was in place, but we just by chance fell into all the right categories and checked all the right boxes. And then some things happened behind the scenes that my hand kind of got forced, and when we made the decision, it was going into the Texas race, for the first Triple Truck Challenge, where we would have missed the race because of the rules. So it all just kind of happened, and that's why I go back to like whatever my plan is, I'm good with. However, all this, just to get in this position to be able to race the truck race at Iowa and not start and park an Xfinity car at Iowa this past weekend, like what all had to happen outside of any of our control for that to come into play was incredible. And something I don't take for granted. So it was a blessing really to even be in the race and then to go dominate and win. And I'm good with how it's all working out. Yeah.
Did this team surprise you? Did you know they were going to be this good when you got there?
I mean, I saw the potential last year, but we never really raced great. We qualified good, but not race as good as I thought we should be. But all the pieces were there. And then Phil Gould, Cody Efall is the general manager. He was my crew chief last year. And then Iowa was actually the first time I ever drove a Nice truck in practice. They asked me to jump in. I barely knew him. It just helped Justin Fontaine kind of get a handle on what was going on with the truck. And he really had one of his best runs of the year that night at Iowa. So that was a good big step for him as a driver. And from there, we just kept talking. And then Phil Gould comes in, Lonnie Rush with Chevrolet, and just a bunch of misfits kind of from other teams and different crew guys. And we all just kind of felt like we got pushed out of our previous roles. And so why not go prove the world wrong and show them all, how, just beat everybody. And Atlanta was good. Martinsville was really good. Martinsville was the same truck we just raced at Iowa. So we had a 4th and a 1st with that truck, but we also ran 10th and almost crashed at Dover with a big slide and ran terrible, ran like 14th all day and finished 10th. So you feel good about a race car, or you feel bad about one if you think it doesn't handle good. And after Dover, I was pretty much ready to throw that truck away. We bring it back to Iowa and we dominate. So it's all about the package you put in it.
Yeah.
So that just goes back to the team of building these packages and building these setups into these trucks that are capable of dominating races.
Yeah. And what can you tell us about the team owner, Al Nice?
He is a businessman from Texas. He's in the fuel lube truck and water truck business. So all your construction sites and mines is a lot of where his business is. So 77, there's water trucks to whether they're wetting the road right before they pave it, or they're have to keep so much moisture in the ground before they put the hot mix down, or keeping the gravel roads in a mine or a pit wetted down. That's his stuff. And then he builds the trucks themselves. Buys the frame and the drive line from somebody like Ford or whoever, and then he builds the rest of it. Rolls his own steel for his tanks on the fuel lube trucks. He puts, you can put 1,000-gallon tank of diesel on there, and all your oils and greases that you need to service, a big track hoe or something in a mine, or a dozer, or whatever you need. That's what he does. So he's got different plants across the country and sells all over the place. So he's going to start a little, little line here out of Statesville up there by the race shop. So he is investing into his own business and using this race team as kind of a new
it's like a
means
marketing
to
promotion.
a new means to sell water trucks. And so there's going to be some water trucks that'll go out into this market in the greater Carolina area. But he's a Marine vet, and he used to race sprint cars way back in the day. He really started this truck team because he wanted to drive. He saw other drivers that were later in life and older in age and larger in life, that he thought, he always thought he liked it and liked racing sprint cars and just passionately loved racing. And I think that's what's so bad about this past weekend is that that's kind of taken some of that passion out. And I know that comes with rules and fractions and stuff. People get upset, but it really for all of us. It's kind of like, man, what are we fighting for here?
Right.
With what all happened. So he was a sprint car driver that wanted to go truck racing, and then realized pretty quick that he better find him a driver. And TJ Bell came along pretty quick and really helped build the program. TJ's an awesome guy, awesome spotter now. Still races some whenever there's availability, and just kind of a guy that I feel like never really got the right opportunity at the right time. But a really good race car driver, and helps me every week. We go over stuff, and he's just like a good guy, and just loves racing. So from there, I came in last year to help the team a little bit in a practice session at Iowa, and then Al said he wanted me to race at Bristol, which is actually, now that I think about it, the same truck we just won with. That was our short track truck that we ran at Bristol. So yeah, it all just kind of snowballed in a good way, and other things happened that were bad with CGR, but that opened up my opportunity to run the truck series.
Yeah, and you made that full-time commitment to Nice Motorsports. And how has that impacted your other rides, Ross? Because obviously you've been racing everywhere, every series, Cup, Xfinity, Truck. You're still racing in Xfinity for College Racing. I believe you have 4 more races: Chicagoland, Kansas, Daytona, Texas. Still coming up there.
Yeah, still working through all that. We know Nutri-Nag Solutions will be on it. Chicago, Kansas, and Texas. So
okay, gotcha. And are you still racing for Johnny Davis as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and there's some, there was definitely some sloppy stuff there that's went on. And just being 100% honest, there was some stuff that forced my hand.
That caused you to go to the truck.
And then we swapped over to the trucks. And so,
gotcha.
Not something we planned out to do, not something we saw coming until it was just thrown at us. And you're just juggling everything and trying to keep everything going. And I've said it, I feel like running as much as I have, there's a reason we set a record, because it's so hard to do, to run for 4 team owners, 2 in Xfinity, 1 in Truck, and 1 in Cup, and try to keep everybody happy and fulfill all your obligations just for the performance side, let alone the business side and all the sponsors. I go weeks at a time and never come back to the Carolinas, and just fly from one place to the next, and then straight to the racetrack, and then straight from there back out to another place. So I felt there was a while there where every race team I drove for was mad at me. I mean, there was a couple weeks where it was like everybody had a reason, and they really had a reason. It was my own fault. I was overextended, and it's sorted itself out where I was actually happy that I didn't run the Cup race at Michigan. One, because of the rain delay, but Garrett Smithley got to drive, and he's a guy that's came along with me at JD and came in a year after me, and we've kind of progressed together in a lot of ways. And I feel like that, how I got my chance at Premium when Reed Sorensen was driving, and Reed helped me. Now Reed and I can help Garrett, and it's just kind of how it happens. That's the way it goes at Premium. If somebody comes with a sponsor, that's why I was able to get in. Like, there's no hiding it. I don't back away from it. That's fine. It ultimately led to me running all but 2 races last year, and then Jay ran me in the Daytona 500 this year and started the year full bore.
That happens when you finish 10th in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that was a really good
start.
Really good race. So I was actually happy to see Garrett. That's probably one of the only people I would have been happy for, to see somebody run the car I was thinking I would drive. I don't want to do it every week, but it was nice. It was cool that one time. Maybe if it happens a few more times, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
And then the JD stuff, there's just other funded drivers. And with the way everything went, we were way underfunded. We were expected to make the playoffs. We were expected to run top 10. And when the funding isn't there, and you can't hire enough people, you can't buy all the parts you need, you can't rent the stuff you need. Johnny owns all of his own motors. I've never had a leased motor down there in the Xfinity car. So the fact that we can restart next to these guys that have full lease motors and and brand new cars and stuff, and we're buying them used from people. It was always something I've been really proud of, and we've went and ran fourth and a couple of times, top fives, a lot of top tens, and it just didn't work out this year, and I hate that. It's something Johnny Davis and Gary Keller are people I will always love and always probably go drive for again in the future, if they'll have me sometime way down the road, and still got some races this year. But it didn't work out to run the full season.
Yeah, well, it did work out that you ran the first 13 races in Xfinity, you ran the first 14 races in Cup, and all 10 to date in the Truck Series. So that's a lot of races. That's 37 races, as you mentioned, Ross. I mean, you're flitting back and forth across the country, probably not home for weeks. You're back in the Jay Robinson car this weekend for Sonoma. But you're only going to be there Sunday.
Yeah.
So how does it work for you? You haven't had this logistical nightmare too many times yet this year. I know there was the Texas-Michigan situation, but how do you get from Gateway, St. Louis area to Sonoma, Northern California, one day to the next? How's that happen?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the dang truck race doesn't start till 9 local time, which is 10 Eastern,
okay.
There in St. Louis. So then I think we're on the Victory flight, so the charter service out of Statesville with GMS, they I think that Premium got me a seat on that. So a bunch of pit crew guys will come do the same thing, and we'll right after the race, about 2 hours I'm sure after the checkered flag, we'll be in the air cruising out to California and try to sleep as much as I can on the plane. I mean, I don't know what we can't get there. It'll be way into the morning. I don't know, the sun might be up by the time we get there. And just,
sure.
A big testament to Premium Motorsports and Jay Robinson for putting me in the car. And he's going to run 3 cars out there. And Chevrolet has helped me a lot with simulator time of just so I know, like, how do you get off pit road and where do you go from there? And now this new carousel, like, how do you even know what gears to be in and when to hit the brakes? Like, that's all stuff you learn either testing or in practice. At least when you go there as a rookie, you always have a couple hours of practice, and my first lap will be rolling off for the race.
You'll never have seen the track before you start the race.
Never. So that's pretty crazy. It is crazy to think about. It's something NASCAR they put a lot of thought into if they were comfortable with it, and Jay said they were good. I guess they're good with it. So big thank you to them for that. It's going to be crazy, but at least there's, I think, a 20-lap first segment. Come in at the end of that, kind of regroup, get some. I'm sure I'll have burned the tires up by then, and learning where the curbs are and how to brake and how to accelerate off that final corner and stuff. Just stuff that I'll have to learn on the go, and just uneventful day out there, and get laps around the track is my only goal.
Yeah,
stay on track.
So how many more races for Jay then do you think this year?
I think a lot. Yeah. I think as many. It's as many as he wants me in. That's all it comes down to. Is as long as his sponsors are happy and they want me, and it does, no scheduling conflicts, so it's up to him. I'm there for him. I'm there for colleague. I'm there for JD whenever it all works out, and we'll be points racing with Nice. Even though I don't points race, we just go and win with Nice Motorsports.
So it's have helmet, will travel for Ross Chastain as always. The Michigan Texas situation, when you race Friday night in Texas and you got to be in Michigan on Saturday morning for the Xfinity race. Yes. Is that a commercial thing, or is there always a charter flight that
there was a charter flight?
Can handle it? Okay.
Yeah. There's pretty much.
So that makes your life a little bit easier.
It does. It would really be. I don't know if you could do the Gateway to San Francisco.
Yeah, probably be impossible.
I don't think that. I don't think that would work. And then we know how commercial flights are these days. There's always delays and canceled flights. So, no. Luckily, for a relatively inexpensive cost, you can get on the team charter plane. And get you right there, and just have a rental car, go sleep in the hotel room for about, I think Michigan I slept for maybe 3 hours, and got up, went to the track, and then had to go try to qualify an Xfinity car I hadn't been in all weekend. Yeah. That Landon Castle practiced, and he told me I could hold it wide open, and that was not the case. And I tried, and I almost crashed. So yeah, that was a hair-raising moment. Hair stand up back of your neck, drive down into. Even to turn 3, come into the green, I was fully confident, Landon knows. He said I'll be able to hold it wide open, and I'm coming to the green, and I am pushing up into the gray sideways, okay, maybe the tires weren't warm enough. Maybe I didn't scrub them hard enough. All right, down into 1. I was slow off before. It'll definitely stick now. Not the case. So thanks, Landon.
Well,
thank you.
I guess you have to live your life with a certain degree of faith, both literally, figuratively, every sense of the word, when you're just, you're not fazed by this travel situation or this running every series situation.
Right.
You just go and I get in the car or the truck and you hope it works, right?
Well, and the biggest reason that I do it, and the reason that I wanted, when Johnny Davis called me in December of 2014 about driving, and our plan was to run the first 5 races and then start and park until we got sponsorship. We never did start and park, by the way. So that was incredible that him and Gary Keller ran me all those for over 4 years, with minimal sponsorship all the time, and always put after the first year, always put tires on it after that. We learned our lesson a couple of times trying to run scuffs, and after that, if we needed tires, he went and got them all the way and he will continue that throughout this year. So, once I started running the Xfinity races so much, I realized how good track time was, and just running every week, how much better of a driver I felt like I was becoming. It had so much room to grow. So that's where I wanted to run the Cup race, and I wanted to run truck races, and I ran for Bola Motorsports, and I ran for anybody that let me drive.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get in for people that were sick, with seats that were way too big. I got in for Wendell Chavis at Atlanta last year, halfway through the race, and I literally had to look underneath the top of the steering wheel because he had the wheel so high because he's so tall. I had to duck just a little bit because the wheel was right in my field of view, and I couldn't see out the windshield. I couldn't see over it, so I had to look underneath it, and ran about 80 laps around Atlanta in a truck like that. So I'll do anything. Like I'll rate as long as I feel safe, and I really have never not felt safe. So helped Vinnie Miller this weekend out in Iowa in practice, and just just hop in a seat. As long as I'll fit in it, then I'm good, and just go drive and tell them what I think, and just running 4 laps in Xfinity practice at Iowa, I think helped me in the truck race. So that's why I want to run as many Cup races, especially with the previous package too. All that horsepower, no downforce, a lot of off throttle time. It was really fun to drive the cars back then.
Yeah, just go with it, man. So you said in the off season that the best way to clear your head and appreciate life is to get on the tractor at your family's famous watermelon farm for a few days and put the phone away. Do you do that during the season, or can you? I mean, is it? Do you make it back to the farm between February and November, or is it pretty much just go, and then that's your time to decompress?
Yeah, I don't know about the famous part. That's kind of my dad will get a crack. We'll get a good laugh out of that.
We've established you as a famous watermelon farming family because of national television. You're breaking watermelons.
That's right.
So,
that's right. So no, it's not as much time as I would like. Got down for Easter, definitely get there for Thanksgiving. And other than that, it's pretty few and far between. I am going to go on Thursday, take Chip Weil, president of Daytona International Speedway, to South Georgia, Tifton and Cordele area, and take him to a watermelon farm. A few years ago when I first started, we took Michael Waltrip to a farm up in Maryland, about an hour south of Dover, Delaware, out there on the peninsula. There's a lot of watermelon farming, a lot of agriculture out there on the peninsula. So we're going to take Chip over to South Georgia and show him around the watermelon farm on Thursday. So that'll be the first time I've gotten to Georgia in, I guess, maybe 2 years, I think. So I used to go there and work a couple weeks each year in their scale office and just book out trucks. And just when I was only racing part-time, like 2014 and 13, I had weeks off at a time. So it's like I'm not sitting here in Charlotte. I don't know many people. I'm not doing anything productive to get better as a race car driver, so I might as well go work back in watermelons because I know everybody. So I just go, book out trucks or go ride out and look at watermelons and just learning. So I get to go down there and show Chip a little bit about the watermelon farm and try to get some work out of him. I don't know how well you know Chip, but I think getting the
I can't see him putting in a hard day's labor.
I know. So it originally was going to be Thursday, and then it was, I got to be back in Daytona at 6 p.m. And then I got to be back at 4 p.m. So now he's got to leave at like 12:30. So he's gonna call it early, but we'll get a good morning out of him.
And this isn't the family farm, is it?
No, this is some of the people we sell to, Melon One.
Gotcha.
But the whole watermelon industry is really it's a huge family, and that's what got me going in racing. Is my dad obviously wanted to do some hobby racing, and we did that. And when we got to this level in the trucks, we had made a lot of connections, obviously, through the watermelon farm, and some of the people in the industry were fans and wanted to help me. So everybody in watermelons, nobody promotes just one brand. Everybody promotes Florida watermelons or Georgia or South Carolina, North Carolina. There's a group out in Indiana and Illinois that co-promote, and then Maryland and Delaware co-promotes. So it's and the Gulf states do as well. So it's cool that they were able to use me kind of as a marketing platform, being that we were watermelon farmers. Almost everybody, right? You're always going to have some Debbie Downers in the group, but enough people voted on it and liked it to spend marketing dollars to promote watermelons with me in my racing career. So it's watermelons are easy to sell in my mind. So I have the easiest job in the world. I get to go race cars and talk about watermelons all the time. And it really does come natural on both sides of racing and watermelons because it's stuff that I truly am passionate about. I'm not, holding up a bottle of something and just talking about it because I have a PSA with them and they sponsor my race car. It truly is, whether you're buying a watermelon from my family's farm or somebody else or the neighbor, it's all for the greater good of all of us as watermelon farmers. We all promote together and we all succeed together. Because when there's a bad year in an area, everybody has a bad year. It's either all good or all bad most of the time. Yeah,
and also a pretty good fallback plan for you if this racing thing doesn't work out
as well. I'll be low man on the totem pole. I'm off chasing this stuff, and I am falling behind in a lot of aspects of people my age that are going into the industry and people that I grew up with that stayed the course. My brother Chad's 20 now. He's in South Georgia working. First year he's went on the road, but he wanted to commit to that and grow more acres with my dad in the spring for our Florida watermelons, and then decided to go on the road because he's wanting to live life and he wants to make money, and so that's I love it for him. I love that he's able to do that, and that we do have a lot of family involved, and that's how a lot of farmers are, right? I mean, everybody's there's less farmers, I think, than there was, but everybody had to get bigger to feed everybody. I mean, the task of feeding this world is absolutely incredible when you think about it. And really to tie that in is springboarded into my relationship with Nutrient Ag Solutions. They're in the ag industry, one of the biggest groups for helping farmers grow a better crop. And so Elliott Sadler and Brett Griffin brought me into that, and they it's been a natural fit from the very beginning. We all know each other. We all do the same kind of business. So getting to promote them on my race cars and lead the field with them at Daytona and Talladega and have more races coming up, and have somebody like Elliott Sadler to mentor me and kind of jab back and forth. We know each other good enough that last year at Road America, they hadn't told me about anything with Nutrient Ag Solutions yet. And I don't really think if they knew yet. It was maybe right around the time they all kind of got together. But somebody brought through an autograph line a number 38 M&M's car that he had won in. It was a race win diecast. And he looked over at me and he said, "Ross, this is a race-winning NASCAR race car. You don't know what that is, do you, boy?" And lo and behold, we go and we get the 42 ride, and we win it at Las Vegas later in the year. So I made sure to give him a lot of crap about that.
Yeah, you could stick that back in his face.
And I have a race win diecast with his name on it. They're just now coming in from the Vegas win. As soon as they all get delivered to the house, I've got one ready to ship to Elliott in Emporia, one for him and one for Wyatt. So got to rub it in a little bit.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Yeah, very much. Well, speaking of winning, let's wrap up here. And speaking of that Ganassi win, I mean, this time a year ago, I'm sure that deal was starting to come together, and you were looking at a chance to run in a top-notch Xfinity car. And last time I talked to you back in October, we were talking about full-time ride coming up here for Ganassi in the Xfinity car, and obviously everything has changed here as we sit here in June 2019. Where do you feel like your career is now, like versus where obviously it's, I don't know if it's 180 degrees, but it's much different than where it was, say, last November. Where do you think you are right now?
I mean, I think it's right where it's supposed to be. Not by my choice. I didn't choose it. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. And nobody on my side chose this path, but we're right where we're led to be, and I'm good with it. Still, great friends with everybody at CGR and still work with them. Still just trying to let them help me be the best race car driver I can be. Still walk by the podcast room there upstairs and see Jeff Dowling and see all those guys, and anything I can ever help them with. They push stuff my way that their drivers are either double booked or can't make an appearance, and they'll, I've went and Jeff set stuff up for me, this year and on some big markets out in California and stuff. Like I would have never got that opportunity to speak on a LA news channel for not Lower Alabama, for Los Angeles.
Right.
The only thing I could ever get was Lower Alabama. So those guys still help me a ton. And it's so it's not like it's the end of the world with what all's happened. I feel like we can keep fighting, and it's not always easy.
Sure.
But it's not how we would have picked it. But we'll just keep. I mean, you see how much has changed since our last talk on the podcast till now.
Yeah.
And I feel just as good right now as I did that day.
Yeah.
And you look at what all's went on, and there was dark moments, and there was high moments on Sunday, and there was low moments on this past Sunday. So you just have to keep. I mean, I keep saying it, but that's what I believe. You just get up and you fight, and however it's supposed to work out, it'll work out.
All right, man. Well, keep up the fight, and we'll keep watching you. And we appreciate you giving so much of your time again today for the podcast. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.